Each and every Monday is $9 Monday at WagerTalk.com. All daily picks packages are priced at only $9, including $40 5% best bets. As an added bonus, all new users will receive $25 in WagerBucks credited to their accounts, available for immediate use after their initial $9 Monday purchase. So make sure to take advantage of $9 Mondays at WagerTalk.com.
Welcome into First Pitch, Wager Talk's premier MLB betting show for Friday, June 11th. Guys, we got 4 games on the card. Actually, 5 we're going to hit the last one real quick. And then best bets at the end. Bryan Leonard and Dave Koken from WagerTalk.com on with me to break down these games. First up here, Dave Koken live from Las Vegas, Nevada. Dave, welcome in. Happy Friday morning to you.
It is a happy Friday morning because it was a happy Thursday night for the Golden Knights, who are going on to the Final Four in the NHL. They beat Colorado last night. I had a small play on the Knights, which was nice. I had an odd day yesterday. I ended up with a profit for the day because of the hockey game. But I went 1-1-1 in baseball. The one winner was Brewers' full game. The one loser was Brewers' first 5. That was an unearned run after a rain delay when the second baseman couldn't field an easy ground ball, and that led to a cheap run. And the push was Astros' first 5. They're up 7-4. Need 1 out. Couldn't get it. Ends up 7-7. But the good news there is I pushed, and the Red Sox eventually clobbered them. So I'm not going to bitch too much about that one. And really, in a sense, it would have been a lucky win because Zach Greinke was really bad last night, and getting out of it with a push is actually not too bad. So it was a winning night. I have a good-sized card today. Do a little promotion here. I've got a free play, which I'm going to discuss here on the show, and it'll be the best bet on the show. I've got a 3-game package, and I priced this real cheap, $19. It includes a best bet on a good-sized underdog. And I'll note that I'm number 1 at Wager Talk on Major League Baseball 4% best bets this season, so they've done well. I think this card's got a good chance to produce a nice profit. It's available right now for $19. My homepage, wt.buzz/DC.
All right, Dave. And speaking of profits here, Bryan Leonard over the last 4 years, number 1 in MLB at Wager Talk. So you're looking for long-term baseball profits here. Bryan knows a lot about betting on the diamond. Bryan, happy Friday morning to you as well, buddy.
Yes, it's good to talk to you guys. And like Dave, I didn't have the Knights as a play. I had them as my free play, and it was a nice outcome. And it being a season ticket holder, really love that the Knights are advancing to play against Montreal here. And we've got 2, it's not a hockey show, but we've got 2 teams that are major favorites going into the Stanley Cup Championship. So we'll see how it is. I'm down in Florida right now, and I could go to a Tampa Bay game. Unfortunately, by the time if these 2 teams advance, I'll be back in Vegas. So I can't go see Tampa Bay on the road if they do get to the championship with them. But as Dave talked about in baseball, really good success the last 4 years. This year, the luck factor is really getting to me. We talk about puck luck a lot. In baseball, when I look at luck factor, I look at how teams do in extra innings and how they do in 1-run games. I've been terrible. And I appreciate you putting the Atlanta Braves on our card today, because the last 2 days I have lost games on the Atlanta Braves in horrific fashion. So it's been the Braves the last 2 days have been basically what I've done so far this baseball season. It's just one of those that if you can't win the coin flips, you're not going to do well. So I don't have a problem with the way I've been picking games this year, but the outcomes have been horrendous, and I do apologize for my clients, because it hasn't been a normal year in baseball for me.
Yeah, and one thing to add, though, is we're only 60 games in. Yeah. So there's a long way to go. And baseball is definitely a marathon, not a sprint. So, and I know you put in the work and you've got a good read on baseball. So to me, I'll throw in a plug here. With Bryan's track record over the years, it actually probably would make more sense to get on him now, because he's going to end up well into the black by the time this is all said and done. And that's what you want, is to get a capper before he gets really hot.
Yeah, the problem you have is most guys want to jump on whoever's hot.
I know.
And they've already blown their winning streak by that point. And yeah, I say that all the time. I said, look at a guy's track record. And if he's gotten off to a slow start, especially if the luck's gone against him, that's one you want to join. So hopefully I can give some winners for my clients the rest of the season. I appreciate the plug, Dave. Thank you.
And talking about Bryan here, guys, he's got his Friday MLB foreplay 4-for-1. So check it out at WagerTalk.com. Bryan, I can't tell if you were being sarcastic talking about putting the Braves on the list, but they are the first game up, so we'll come to you first here. We got the Atlanta Braves heading to South Florida to face the Miami Marlins. Charlie Morton, Sandy Alcantara. I'll tell you, Bryan, whenever I see Sandy Alcantara on the hill and a plus price next to him, I know the Marlins lineup isn't anything to kind of brag about here, but it always kind of piques my interest. We get a low total here, 7.5 in South Florida, down to 7 actually at a lot of shops now. So the Marlins in the under has taken some money here. Do you agree with that in this first game up here, Bryan?
Yeah, I'm a little bit torn on this one. I think it maybe losing those 2 heartbreakers the last couple of days soured me a little bit on the Braves. But you're right about Alcantara. He's the best pitcher for Miami, and you're getting him at home as a home underdog here. You look over the last month, Atlanta's only got 3 more wins than what Miami has in that time frame, and Miami's had some injuries to key players during that time. So this seems to be a little bit of an advantage for Miami in this game. I wanted to look at the advanced stats for Charlie Morton. I know last year he didn't do well. He only pitched 38 innings, 4.74 ERA. But compared to last year, his velocity has been up this year, up about a point or 1 to 2 miles an hour, depending on what pitch it is. So he's getting back to normal. I do want to point out, and this is be for the entire baseball league, with the talk lately about the sticky substances and the spin rates. I read an article today that 64% of the pitchers that have pitched since Major League Baseball came out with the thoughts that they were going to start punishing people, 64% of pitchers' spin rates have gone down in the last week or so. So we may be able to see something in the next week or so where we can either take advantage of it in playing more overs, or we may have some of these outliers from the spin rate come down a little bit. I know the Yankees yesterday with Cole, he threw, it was yesterday or the day before, but he hit career highs in fastball velocity. So he did something a little bit different than what he normally does, and it worked out very fine. He wanted to make a point. So keep in mind on that, especially with the Dodgers, because the Dodgers lead baseball in spin rate. So keep an eye on that, just something overall. But, yeah, I think Alcantara as a dog is the only way I would look here. Maybe slightly take a look at the under, but just opinions for me on those two.
All right, Dave, coming to you. I know you've talked about Alcantara as well. Interested in your take here, Braves and Fish tonight.
Well, let me go through some numbers. Morton on the road, OPS 639. Alcantara at home, OPS 525. That's an advantage for the Miami right-hander. He's been better first time through the lineup by a substantial margin over Morton. And they get into something pretty interesting, which is look, for the season, this is bizarre. You wouldn't expect this. Miami has a better WRC plus at home versus righties than Atlanta does on the road versus righties. And the recency over the last week, Miami, despite the injuries, has actually been slamming the ball all over the place. They've got a 128 WRC plus the last week. I mean, all these numbers point to Miami. Now, the one thing that doesn't is both bullpens are struggling right now. If you look at full season, the Marlins have a better bullpen than the Braves. But I full season numbers on the bullpen is something I really pay very little attention to. I want current form more as far as bullpens are concerned. And Miami's bullpen hasn't been very good lately. The Braves' bullpen has just been bad all season. So it's a game where I go back to my fundamental as far as baseball goes. First 5, I'm going to handicap the starting pitchers. And with some edges elsewhere, I think the Marlins at even money or so for the first 5 are worth a bet. I made that my free play today. It's going to be the best bet here on the show. It is one of my selections. It's one of the 4 plays I have. It's not part of the 3-game package I'm promoting, obviously, because I'm talking about it here and did a free play on it. But I do like the Marlins first 5 in this game. And by the way, quick note on Garrett Cole. How motivated was he last night? Because Josh Donaldson's the guy who really came out and went after him. And he was hitting 102 in his pitches to Donaldson last night. So I think there was a message being sent there.
Yeah, a little motivation for him. And another point, guys, towards the Fish, over an 800 team OPS versus Charlie Morton, about 60 at-bats. So for whatever reason, they've seen him as well. So it looks like to be a consensus here on the Fish at home. Guys, next game up, big one here on MLB Network. We get the Mets hosting the San Diego Padres. Looks like Blake Snell versus Jason DeGrom. Good pitching matchup here. We do have a big favorite, Dave, with minus 170, about minus 160 now for the Mets at home. Total of 6 is what I'm seeing right now. What are you liking tonight in New York, Dave?
Well, I read Brian's email because we exchange emails, and so we're going to have little opposite opinions here. My play here would be a little bit different. I hate laying big prices in baseball. I'll do it on occasion, but it's pretty infrequent. I think the value. Look, I don't care what my winning percentage is. I'm only interested in the units. And to me, you're going to make more money long run going with value, going with small favorites and dogs. And I just, there are exceptions to this. If you played the Dodgers as big truck last year, if you played the Astros as big truck the year they won the World Series, I mean, you made money on those teams. There's no question about that. But for the most part, laying those big prices isn't going to get you rich. In this game, now, I like the Mets here. A couple of reasons. One, the obvious, Jacob deGrom is the best pitcher in baseball. And he's facing a San Diego team that is not hitting the ball right now. Padres over the last week have a 62 WRC plus. That stinks. Okay, they're not in good form offensively. So you take a team that's struggling with the sticks and put them up against the best pitcher in baseball, and he is the best pitcher in baseball. I don't think the chances of scoring are real good here. Blake Snell has had a spectacular home road dichotomy this year. He's been good at home. He has been awful on the road. 6 starts. Padres have lost all 6. His OPS on the road is 939. And he's up against the Mets team that, despite the fact that they're missing some key components right now, like Nimmo and McNeil, they are banging the ball. 136 WRC plus over the last week. Granted, some of that was against some really lousy pitching with the Orioles in particular. But you're still going to hit the baseball. It does look like the Polar Bear is starting to get into form, and against the lefty, that might be a good thing tonight. The way I would approach this, and I almost never play this type of bet, but I think it's worth it here. Minus a half run in the first 5. I don't want to go against that Padres bullpen. San Diego might have some issues with the bats right now, but their bullpen is really good. So to me, it's a first 5 on DeGrom. I'll lay a half run at minus 120 or so. That, to me, is a lot better than minus 170, especially since I think the Mets will win the first 5 with DeGrom versus Snell.
Brian, just going off of Dave's point of what he talked about in reading your email, which I did not, but DeGrom faced this Padres lineup not too long ago. I think it was last weekend, actually, and the price was actually plus 102. I know because I bet it. And finding DeGrom at a plus price. Now he's laying a bigger number here, Brian. But I will say this: the Padres lineup did put the bat on the ball hard sometimes throughout that game. It wasn't like he shut them down completely. But even though the numbers, they didn't cross many runs across the plate. So I could see arguments to both ways. Very, very interested in your take here, Brian.
Yeah, my take's slightly different. I'm looking for a little bit more regression. Dave talked about how Snell has pitched on the road this year. 9.70 ERA. I mean, this is not typically Snell. He's always been better at home than he's been on the road. But I went back and I took a look at his career on the road, and the worst season he had was about a mid-4s ERA. So I'm looking for a little bit of regression there. Granted, he's been terrible on the road this year. But when you look at a full season's worth of work, I think it'll come back down to where he normally pitches in that general area. One of the reasons why I like the Padres a little bit here is they've got a 97 WRC plus on the season versus righties, where the Mets are only 94 versus lefties. In fact, the Mets are 6-9 on the season versus lefties. And you talked about it. These two pitchers, they didn't pitch in the same game, but they had almost exactly the same game scores last week. Snell went 7 innings of shutout baseball, 10-1 strikeout to walk ratio, 84 game score. DeGrom went 7 innings, shutout ball, 11-1 strikeout to walk ratio with an 81 game score. So both these pitchers had a lot of success when they pitched just a week ago. And for me, if I see a total of 5.5, when I know the team that scores 3 runs is going to win this game, I'm much more willing to look for an upset in that regard. As great as DeGrom has been, he is at an all-time record high right now. So when you're betting on DeGrom, and we've seen this all along, that the teams rarely score when DeGrom's on the mound, you are paying the bigger tax right now on DeGrom than you've probably ever paid in his career. So you're getting a guy who's been, so I'm looking for a little bit of regression here. If I'm looking for a game that's only be scoring 5.5 runs, I will take the team which I think has the better bullpen, and I will take the plus 150, 157, whatever it is at this point with the Padres. Dave and I are a little bit different here. We'll see how it goes. It should be a great game altogether, but I did read something about teams with 5.5 score or 5.5 totals. Doesn't happen very often. And now going back to what I just talked about with the league coming down on pitchers throwing a little bit with a little bit grip situation, kind of like the over a little bit here. 5.5, you can't play, at least in my mind, you can't play under a 5.5. But it wouldn't surprise me at all. This game ends up with 6-7 runs, and I'm willing to take the underdog at this price with the better team.
Interesting take from both Dave and Bryan. Guys, let us know on YouTube in the comments below, if you're watching on replay, which side of the coin do you fall tonight in this little rematch of the New York Mets and the Padres? Different price from earlier, but still a good matchup overall, as we got 3 more games actually on the card to break down here. Toronto Blue Jays, Boston Red Sox up next here, Bryan. We're getting Stripling versus Richards, about a minus 120 price tag right now for the Red Sox in Fenway tonight. What are you liking Jays and Sox tonight, Bryan?
I prefer the total here. We're looking at about a 9.5. And like Dave, I watched that Houston-Boston game yesterday, and Greinke had nothing. But it was one of those games where it's starting to warm up a little bit in some of these cities, and the ball's just flying very well off the bat. And we saw that in the first 2 games of this series. Boston, the first game, they scored 8 in the first game, but then the last 2 days, 11 and 20 runs. I don't want to stand in the way of these bats here. Toronto's been a situation where they played some really good ball back at home when they were playing in Dunedin. But when you take a look at what they've done basically since they've left Dunedin, the offense has really struggled. But I'm not a big fan of Garrett Richards. His numbers this year are better than what I think he is. Ross Stripling's one of those guys. I said it before. I didn't like him signing into this division. I thought that was a bad move by Toronto to bring him into this division. Last year, he gave up 13 home runs in 49 innings. He's already given up 8 home runs in 42 innings. So you got a guy giving up 2 home runs per inning in this division. This has a lot of good hitting ballparks. Don't want any part of Ross Stripling. Garrett Richards is a guy I'm looking to fade. I like this game over. Over 9.5 is my best bet in this one.
I like it as well, Bryan and Dave. Coming to you, I mean, both teams have been very good against righties. Both bullpens not very good this year. I agree with Bryan. Hitters Park here in Fenway over the 9.5. How do you take this one in the AL East?
I'm not going to argue against that. I'll make a case for the Blue Jays. It missed my card by a little bit. But I definitely consider Toronto here. The one thing that kept me off them is they've gone into a bit of a collective offensive slump. Last week, 74 WRC plus. Now, they faced some good pitchers in there, so that had to do with it. And they're not facing a good pitcher tonight, so I would think the bats should come alive a little bit. Stripling might be a little bit of a lightning in a bottle guy right now. I don't think he's anything more than an average guy overall, but he's gotten hot. He had a 7-inning relief pitch performance that was outstanding. They put him back in the rotation, and he's had 2 good starts. His last 17 innings, 11 hits, 2 runs. That's pretty good. So he's in good form right now. Might be able to quiet the Red Sox bats a little bit, enough for Toronto to have a chance here. And for what it's worth, it's tough to really measure this, but that was an absolute epic battle last night between the Astros and Red Sox. It went about 4 hours. That was a draining game. And the Red Sox could be a little bit weary here. The White Sox and Blue Jays, that wasn't nearly as strenuous a game. Let's put it that way. I give a little edge to Toronto at the price here. Again, it just missed my card, but I definitely gave consideration to betting the Blue Jays here.
All right,
I
good stuff,
know.
Dave.
Quick note:
Yep.
that would only be first 5. I don't want nothing to do with the Toronto bullpen.
Okay, so sticking to first 5, even though Boston's bullpen is bad as well, you just not to deal with the volatility in the end, right, Dave?
No, I think the Red Sox bullpen is much more trustworthy. Barnes is, they used him last night with a 4-run lead, but it wasn't a real strenuous inning, so he could come back tonight. And some of their other pieces are not great, but not terrible either. The guy from Japan, Sawamura, has been pretty good. Hernandez, when he's throwing the ball over the plate, can be very tough. His control isn't always trustworthy. I think the Red Sox are figuring things out in the bullpen. I would not be surprised if Matt Andriese gets DFA'd in the next week or so. He was awful last night, and he's really not very good. And they've got a couple of guys on the Worcester Red Sox. They're no longer the Pawtucket Red Sox, but the Worcester Red Sox, who might be able to contribute out of the pen. So I think the Red Sox bullpen is probably going to be okay. Maybe not great, but okay. Toronto's bullpen is not good. They've got problems in the pen, and it's going to cost them some games.
All right, maybe a little buy low here on the Sox pin. Guys, we got 2 games left. Best bets at the end. Shout out to the chat box. Abby, we got Lance in the house. Alex saying Marlins. Money line, Joey as well. Jessica, thanks for joining us live. Please smash that like button. Ty as well if you're liking the content here, guys. Breaking it down. Dave, coming back to you here for the nightcap on the card. LA Angels and the Arizona Diamondbacks. We're getting Ohtani versus Kelly. Total of 9 here. This is my best bet for the show, Dave. There's a side I really like. Interested in your take. Ohtani minus 135. Total of 9 here in the desert, Dave.
Well, I think I can handicap the side you're taking because I don't know why anybody would bet the Diamondbacks right now. Forget the road. I mean, they've lost, 19 in a row, 18 in a row on the road. They're 2-23, I believe it is, in their last 25 games. They were actually 2 games over 500 at 15-13, and everything has gone wrong. This is the Murphy's Law team in baseball this year. Their only remaining starting pitcher from their original rotation is the one going tonight, Merrill Kelly. The others are all on the injured list.
Wow.
They've been snake bit. Now, one thing I will mention, and it's just kind of one of my things. Whenever a team makes a coaching change, I kind of expect something good to happen. It's just something to change the flow. The Diamondbacks didn't fire their manager, but they did fire their 2 hitting coaches and brought in 2 new hitting coaches. It might be a little bit of a boost. I will say this. I think the Diamondbacks will be very excited about this game because Ohtani's on the mound. And it's an event anytime you face Ohtani, especially when he's pitching. I mean, it becomes one of the most watched games of the night. I know I'm going to be watching this game tonight, see how he does. It's really exciting when he's out there. He's tremendously talented. And I don't know that there's anybody in baseball I'd rather watch more than Ohtani at this point. The Angels come in playing good ball. They've got some positive momentum. Things are starting to click for them a little bit. And again, it's not that late. It's not that far into the season where we can just say, well, the Angels aren't going to beat anything. They're going to get Trout back shortly. They're starting to feel good about their starting pitching, which has been much better lately. Maybe the Angels are going to make a move. We'll have to wait and see. It's the only side I can look at here. I will say Merrill Kelly has been pitching in some horrific luck recently. The team plays bad defense when he's out there. He's actually been really good in several of his recent starts, but he's facing a team that's hitting the ball right now. The Diamondbacks, nothing going right for them. I know you're going to go on the Angels on this, and I can't disagree, Drew. I think the Angels are the only side I could play.
You know, Bryan, Dave got it right, and I'll tell you, the Arizona Diamondbacks losing 7 straight. I mean, they're down 20 units on the season. Bryan, why isn't this game the LA Angels minus 190? I'll just ask that question to you.
I have a quick story to tell after I give my analysis for this. Actually, I'll wait for the story for the next game. But if you are playing the stock market, there's no way in hell you play the Angels here.
Well, yeah.
You've got, not only do you have the Arizona Diamondbacks being the worst team in baseball over this streak, they're coming back home after losing 7 straight games on the road. Merrill Kelly, say what you want, his last 7 games, he's got 0 wins, but his average game score is 52. He's not pitching bad. And you got Shohei Ohtani, the number 1 attraction in baseball right now. Everybody wants to bet against Arizona. Everybody wants to bet on Ohtani. And with the line only being the number that you said, that tells me that I've watched these lines long enough that I think Arizona has value. In fact, I know for a fact Arizona has value in this game. Now, that said, I'm not going to bet Arizona in this game, but I'm just letting you know why the line is where it is, especially when you take a look, the fans, I don't know what kind of fans Arizona's been bringing in, but they'll bring in some fans to see Ohtani pitch on the road there in Arizona. So they'll have a bigger crowd than what they normally have. But, yeah, there's no way in hell I can lay with the Angels here, but I understand why the line's not as high as what you think it is.
Yeah, and it's precisely the reason I didn't play the game. I mean, look, it looks obvious, and the lines can be tricky. I mean, quite honestly, if this game was minus 155, I might have looked harder at the Angels, considering the Diamondbacks form. But minus 135, man, that screams trap to me.
Well, Dave, you're a great person to ask this question. I mean, just last week, like we were just talking Jason DeGrom at the plus 102 with the Mets, and I actually thought that before I bet it. I'm like, man, is Vegas playing a trick on us? What's going on here? And you're bringing up that kind of same type of profile with this game of what if it was minus 155, I would look a little bit harder. Why isn't it minus 180, minus 190? My question here.
Well,
so is there truth to that? Is there truth to that, though, in maybe a tricky line here through all your years of betting this?
It's just a feel you get, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. It's instinct more than anything. And I can be dead wrong on it. I might be regretting not playing the Angels at what looks to be a cheap price. At 10 o'clock this evening, I might be sitting there going, boy, that was stupid.
Right.
But it's just kind of the way I approach things. I'm one of those, and I'm not a public fader. We've talked about this many times in the past. I think that sharp square stuff is completely overrated.
Yes.
But this is one where I respect it enough to just stay the hell away from it.
Okay. Hey, I respect that, Dave. And your public, your sharp public money thing, I back that as well, Dave. I think that's totally overblown with sports betting becoming more mainstream. But I think that's something we can all agree on. Guys, we had one more game here, Seattle and Cleveland. Just wanted to get it out real quick. Done in Savale. Looks like Cleveland as high as minus 160 here, total of 9. We get done going for the Seattle Mariners. He had solid back-to-back starts here, a great May. He's not going deep into games, which is something that a little bit worrisome here for the Mariners side. And Savale on the other side, pedestrian numbers, decent, but only 5 strikeouts in his last 12 innings. This is also their first game back at home after near a week-long road trip. Talking about the Indians, I was really looking towards the Mariners here at a plus price, plus 135. Bryan, real quickly here, anytime the Mariners are playing, you're on the show, like to get your opinion here of how the Cleveland Indians are playing overall going forward. And also we get Elliot here in the chat box saying, Bryan, tell the story. So, man, have at it. What story were you going to tell?
Well, the first thing was that Dave just mentioned Worcester. And Dave and I have a personal friend that just moved up to Maine, John Cranton. And I went to a Red Sox game.
I didn't know Cranton moved to Maine.
He moved to Maine.
I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. So now we got a place to visit in the summer. But anyway, we went and we're driving on the highway, and I see the sign for Worcester. And I said, I've heard of Worcester. And is that where they make that sauce, the Worcestershire sauce or whatever? And he started laughing. He goes, what are you talking about? I go, right there, Worcester, WORCHESTER, Worcester. And he says, that's Worcester. And I said, that's not Worcester. I said, they got a Worcester in Ohio, WOOSTER. That's Worcester. He says, no, it's not. It's Worcester. I go, what the hell's wrong with you people in Boston? Can't you pronunciate anything correctly? But that was the Worcester story for you. But and I just wanted to make a note regarding seeing lines that you think is a little bit off. Just a couple days ago, Kansas City Royals were a 190 favorite. There's no way Kansas City Royals are a 190 favorite against anybody in baseball with their fifth starter on the mound. But I looked at that game and I said, that's one of those games. There's value on the dog, but the line is telling me something's up. And of course, Kansas City wins easily in that game. And I'm kicking myself later. I go, well, at least I was able to recognize that and not play the underdog. And saving a loser is just as well as saving a winner when it comes to sports betting. So that's my quick little talk about that. But in regards to this game with Savali and Dunn, Savali's one of those guys. He's been as consistent as anybody has been in his career with the Indians. It's a short career, but he's coming off of games where he had a 36 and a 46 game score. And I watch every Indians game. He wasn't at his best, but he wasn't terrible. Justin Dunn is one of those guys that nobody ever talks about Justin Dunn. He's got a 3.18 ERA on the season. Average game scores last 7 is 56. Go back to 2019. Sure, he only pitched 6 innings. He did really well. Last year, only 45 innings, 4.34 ERA, give up 10 home runs. These are 2 really good pitchers in this game. And I don't trust either one of these offenses. If you take a look at what they've done against right-handers on this season, they're 2 of the worst offenses in baseball. And you've got some key players out. You've got the best home run hitter for the Indians out, and you've got some players for the Mariners. Their key minor league guy they just sent to the minors. So they're playing with second-hand kind of players in a lot of these positions. I like the under in this game.
All right, looking towards the under there in Cleveland tonight. Guys, we got best bets coming up, but over 300 people watching live here on YouTube alone. We really appreciate you. The chat box has been live, all the regulars. Thanks for joining us live. And if you're watching on replay, feel free to leave a comment below where you stand on that New York Mets, San Diego Padres game. Is it a little bit too high? Interested in everybody's opinion on that below on YouTube. And please smash the like button. It does help us out here if you're liking the content. So, guys, time for best bets. Dave, heading to you first here. Looks like you got a best play up at Wager Talk. Guys, number 1 in MLB last year at Wager Talk. Dave Koken really knows his baseball betting, as you can tell here on the show in his analysis. But where are you going for best bets tonight, Dave?
Well, and again, I'll plug this package tonight because it's discounted. It's only $19. You get 3 plays. The 4th one I'm going to give you right here. But you get my other 3 plays, including a best bet. And the best bet is on a good-sized underdog that I think offers a lot of value tonight. $19 to get all 3 of those games, WT.buzz/DC. And I am number 1 on my 4% MLB best bets so far this season. So they've done well, and I think I've got a good chance to cash this one at a healthy underdog price. This is a good schedule tonight with the Ohtani thing against the Diamondbacks, and the Mets-Padres game is definitely one I want to watch. You got my opinion on that one. Best bet for the show, and this is the game I used as my free play today, and it is a selection because my free plays are always actual client selections. Look, I've been on the Alcantara Express all year long in some fashion, usually with unders, but here I think the value at even money is on Alcantara and the Marlins to win the first 5 innings. He's got better numbers than Morton. The Marlins actually have better offensive numbers than the Braves in terms of recency, which I think is meaningful. And the Braves they're not playing good ball, and they're coming off 2 bad losses against the Phillies. Those are kind of gut punch losses because they looked like they were going to win those 2 games, and instead came out of it 0-2. They're not a good team right now. I'll go with the Marlins first 5 at roughly even money. If you have to lay -105 or even -110, I think that's okay as well.
I'm on it too, Dave. I like it. And just add a little thunder here. Alcantara off of an 8-inning, 0 earned run performance. And the fact that the Marlins are also 3-1 against the Braves this season as well. So Dave looking towards the fish plus price there in the first 5. Bryan Leonard, he's got his 4-pack up at Wager Talk discounted as well. So check that out, guys. And Bryan, where are you going for best bets tonight, buddy?
I had a game yesterday that was rained out, San Francisco at Washington. Same pitching matchup today, so I'll use this as a free play here. I see a lot of value with this dog in San Francisco on the road here. Against right-handed starters on the season, the Giants have a 105 WRC+, the Nats 85. So San Francisco is 20% better against right-handers on the season than Washington is. Against righties on the year, San Francisco is 27-15, Washington 18-25. The Giants are 20-14 on the road. Washington just 13-15 at home. Over the last month, San Francisco is 20-10. The Nationals 12-18. Take a look at Max Scherzer. He's been terrific. We all know he's an elite pitcher. His last 2 years, as good as Max Scherzer has been, he's only 10-8. His personal record is 10-8. It's a situation for me that we're looking at San Francisco and DeSclafani. I talked in the past about when he pitches in Cincinnati, a pure hitter's park, he was lousy. Everywhere else, he's been great. I have no problem taking DeSclafani in this game, and we're getting a nice plus price. We're not getting quite as much as what we did yesterday, but I still like this game. I like San Francisco. It's rare that you get the better team with what I consider a somewhat close pitching matchup, and I'll take the San Francisco bullpen over the Washington bullpen any day, and we're getting the nice plus price here. Give me San Francisco.
All right, liking the Giants for Bryan Leonard. Guys, I'll finish it up here before the recap. I'm heading to the game we talked about earlier, the nightcap here, the LA Angels and the Arizona Diamondbacks. We're getting the coldest lineup in baseball, talking about the Diamondbacks down 20 units on the season. They got a pitcher with a 5+ ERA on the hill, and they're going up against the Angels. We're actually hot right now. Top 5 lineup the last week. We get Ohtani, the MVP candidate, on the hill. 10 strikeouts, no walks his last time out. Only 2 earned runs in 6 innings. I like the Angels here at the -135 price tag. Also bring in handedness of the pitcher, a top 10 lineup against righties, talking about the Angels, and a bottom 3 lineup against righties, talking about the Diamondbacks. Better bullpen as well for the Angels. So -135, just not pricey enough. I usually don't bet favorites, but tonight on the Angels, I'm going on that one. So for the recap of best bets, I'm on the Angels -135. We get Bryan Leonard +157 on the Giants, big underdog there. And Dave Koken, Marlins first 5 even money, +100 on the Fish in South Florida. So guys, hopefully you enjoyed the Friday show here on the MLB slate. We'll be back Monday, same time, same place. For Dave Koken, Bryan Leonard, I am Drew Martin. Best of luck with your bets. Please smash that like button on your way out. We'll talk on Monday. Have a fun, safe weekend. Thanks for tuning in.
What's better than $2 Tuesday at Sports Memo? How about Freebie Friday? We can't go any lower than free, and each and every Friday we'll hand select a best bet from one of the hottest handicappers on the site and give it out for free. All you have to do is each and every Friday, head over to sportsmemo.com. The Freebie Friday will be listed on the homepage, and you'll be just a click away from a free bet.